Hi, everyone. Welcome to Humane Voices. Carrie and Austin with you again, as always. Carrie, how have you been handling quarantined living?
I'm doing okay. I mean, you said as always, and it's starting to feel like that. It feels like we've always been here. It's since the dawn of history. We've been locked down into quarantine. We're never coming out. Please make it stop.
It's like a never-ending ride.
Yeah.
Well, to help brighten the day, we have a very special guest here that we'll be speaking to. President and CEO of the Humane Society of the United States, Kitty Block. Hi, Kitty.
Yay.
Woo. How's it going?
It's great. It's great. It's kind of exciting to be in my house continuously for the last 40 days or so.
Oh, yeah.
This is really exciting.
It makes you really decide whether you like your house or not.
Right.
I feel like I feel lucky to be in a house that I feel pretty much like, although I'm liking it a little less every day.
Yeah, you said there were some really good opportunities for your house to break down while you were all in it, right?
Absolutely. No heat, tree fell on it. It's good times.
Oh my gosh. It's like a sitcom.
The office is looking good.
Yeah, exactly. Although we haven't been to the office in so long, maybe a tree's fallen on that too. Who knows?
Always scary to talk to you guys. Great.
Breaking the news now. Well, Kitty, actually, so a few weeks ago, we did record an episode of the podcast with all of us in the office. If I remember right, we were branded. I dry cleaned my pants. That seems like
You're wearing pants? No.
I was wearing pants. Yeah, exactly. No, those
and
all
by
seem
branded, Austin means we were wearing branded T-shirts. We weren't actually, branded.
We had brands on our faces.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
No, it seems like museum items. Like there's the typewriter, there's pants, what we used to do back in the day. But anyway. But yeah, and so the pandemic hit, and so under new circumstances, we felt like covering things like COVID-19, the Tiger King, our Pets for Life program, were important to us. But we also wanted to circle back to this episode since it covered some really good issues. And so, the episode was recorded early in March, but it feels like years ago, right?
It's a different world in many ways, but the one thing that has been continuous is Humane Society of the United States work for animals. I mean, we've just amped up everything we're doing for pets around the country, shelter animals, and around the world, helping people foster animals, providing food, other ways to care for them, and making sure they can stay in their homes and they don't get surrendered during times of financial crisis and other ways.
Yeah, that's terrific, Kitty. I think we've also been working a lot on our wildlife issues too, right? Since there are definite connections with the pandemic, what's happening right now, and some of those efforts.
So Humane Society of the U.S. and Humane Society International for many, many years has been focused on the wildlife trade. And so this is one of those things where how many warnings do you need? I mean, we had SARS, we had MERS, which was bat to civet cat or bat to camel in the marketplace in the Middle East. This is a problem, and it's just there has to be that willingness to change politically, and then people's the way they focus their attitude towards animals on this. But we can't afford another case like this, and really these wildlife wet markets have really just hopefully seen their day, and the world is waking up to understanding we have to close these down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those issues where there's such a correlation between animal suffering and human health. We see that over and over again in our work, but I think it's rarely been as highlighted as it is right now.
It is so acute. I mean, this combination of animal welfare and animal their ecosystem and our ecosystem, they're not separate. I mean, It is all together, and the health and well-being of the animals directly tied to the health and well-being of us.
Yeah.
Right. So you've just spoke about it a little bit, but it's clear, and I'm glad that we're actually having a conversation about this now, but we are still making progress for animals even through this pandemic on many fronts, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've said it, many times because it just, I'm reminded of it every day. Our folks are so creative and smart about how to get the work done. So if they can't do something in person, they certainly find that way to put the pressure in other places and just get it done. And we also have our care centers, of course, where you can't work remotely. There is no option. And our folks are just so incredibly dedicated, wearing all the protective gear, but making sure that the animals in our care around the country are being cared for. And same thing internationally. It's, you change how you work, you don't stop working. And that's been the way it's been around here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of shared ecosystems, I thought I would bring on a visitor, a special visitor who is driving us insane during quarantine. This is Floof. This was a dog that was a puppy mill, former puppy mill dog that, we took him in knowing he would be trouble, but he's sort of thriving in the pandemic. By thriving, I mean he's biting our ankles a lot, but he just wanted to say hello. Hello, everybody.
That's his love.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, loves having you.
We miss Floof. We miss Floof. Yeah. He's a great office
Floof
dog.
Misses you guys. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we should really get right into it. Enjoy this episode with Kitty as our special guest, recorded before the pandemic, so don't want to see any angry emails that we're in the office right now. So please enjoy.
I just want all of you to know that while we were podcasting just here and now, Floof took a dump on my floor. So
are you kidding?
My house right now. So I'm going to be getting up, and that's where my afternoon is.
There's a metaphor somewhere in there, but I don't have time for it.
Welcome to Humane Voices, the official podcast of the Humane Society of the United States. Carrie and I here for the first time with audio and video.
In case you didn't know what we looked like, those of you listening on the regular podcast can also see this on YouTube.
Exactly. So with such a special episode, we thought it only be fitting to have our Chief Executive Officer at the helm of the Humane Society of the United States and CEO of Humane Society International, our international affiliate, Kitty Block.
Well, thank you. I actually kind of wish I got to go later. I could see how everybody looks, then decide if I wanted to do this.
Well, Chad's going to decide later if we all look awful. He's just going to scrub.
Good to know.
Exactly.
Good to know.
Plus, people get to see what you look like. And, like if everybody was wondering, Kitty does not always wear a cape. It's just she takes it off sometimes when she's doing podcasts, so it's
took
fun.
it off, but very branded too. It was
there you go.
brand.
Wasn't even planned.
Wasn't even planned. It was great. We all got the
This
memo.
is our blue.
Right,
so,
Humane Blue. So we had a chance to speak with you on the podcast early on last season, and we talked about the accomplishments, the barriers, and the hopes about our mission in the fight for all animals. So much has been happening since then. So we wanted to check back in with you and see, how has the fight been going? What are the campaigns that we're working on?
Is it fixed yet? Are we done?
We're done.
We're good to go?
Sweet Kitty out. We're totally done. In there, got it done.
Mic drop with these things on. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. So just take a step back and look at the big campaigns that we've been working on and just see all the overlap in the news that's been going on as well. So
absolutely. Well, thank you. Great to be back now in living color.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you. It's been an incredible year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think 2019 was one of our strongest years for victories for animals. I'm on every front, for farm animals, for companion animals, for animals in cosmetic testing, for rescues, the number of rescues that we did and got animals out of excruciatingly terrible situations. And so I'm really proud of all the work we've done, and of course proud of all the supporters that have been staying strong with us and really helping us, get to that next level of animal protection, which is just so exciting and really great to be a part of.
So what's the thing that is like biggest on your radar right now? Like, what are the things that, when you leave this room, your next thing is going to be working on X?
Well, the exciting thing is we've really focused on some really important areas where we think if we just push it, really turn up the dial on some of these areas, we can win it.
Yeah.
And we can knock it out of the park once and for all. And I'm really, really excited about these efforts. And so one is puppy mills. We want to make sure that stores in the U.S. no longer sell puppies from puppy mills.
Sure.
I mean, enough is enough. And we have been talking about this issue for a long time, doing undercover investigations showing how sick these puppies are, the conditions of the parents, the mothers that are bred over and over again. We want to knock this out.
Yeah.
People should not buy pets, and they should certainly not go to pet stores to do that. That is really something that's just, it's inhumane, it's unnecessary, and a lot of time consumers don't even know they're getting
That's
a
the
sick
thing,
dog,
really.
and that's
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
yeah.
You know what it's like when you bring a dog home to your family, and if that dog is sick and you don't know, it's heartbreaking.
It's really interesting because I feel like that's one of those terms that people know at this point. Like the vast majority of people, I bet you if you stopped the sort of standard man on the street and said, what is a puppy mill and is it a good or bad thing? Most people would say they know it's a bad thing. Whether they would make the connection to the fact that that is the animal they are seeing in that adorable pet store down the street, that's the connection I feel like not everybody is yet getting, and that's one of the things we're trying to fix.
Absolutely. We want people to know that that puppy in that window, there's so much cruelty behind that. And that, obviously we're all moved by the animals we see, but what that does, to buy that puppy in a pet store just continues the business, and it just
Right.
allows it to keep going. And we have to put the brakes on that. And that's why we think we're going to be able to end this.
Yeah.
In like 3 years,
Right.
we really are going to be able to stop this.
I wish there was some sort of technology we could have where every time someone sees like a puppy in a pet store and sort of locks eyes and gets that sort of sympathetic, almost, like physical response to seeing a puppy, that like a screen would come down and show them where the puppy's mother is.
Wow,
And
that's
then-
a woo.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
we're
And then
gonna
they
cut
would
to
not
that
buy the
scene now.
puppy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of, what you're talking about here too in this fight that seems like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're seeing a lot more state and federal legislation that's going to combat this.
Absolutely. We're going state by state.
Right.
And once people are educated to this, as you said, stopping that average person on the street, they don't want to be a part of this. And again, it's a huge animal cruelty issue, but it also, what about the consumer? What about, again, that family that brings that animal into their home? It can be devastating if that animal is sick
Exactly.
and they can't, there's no medical work that can be done to save that animal a lot of times. And so this is one with the work we're doing, continuing the investigations, showing what's behind that puppy in that window. We're going to be able to knock this one out.
Yeah. I nearly brought Floof today as an illustration of the puppy mill issue, but I was afraid he would go insane. But Floof to me is, I think of him as being a really good example of this because he was a dog from a puppy mill that we found during a pet store investigation. And it's one of those situations where Floof has a luxating patella, and it's a bad little limp that he's got. Now, he gets along with it fine, and because I work here and because I knew what the situation was, I knew what I was adopting, and I knew that, we were going to have some medical bills with him. But most people who go to pet stores, they get sold this bill of goods. Oh, yeah, your puppy is perfectly healthy and adorable and will always be so, and there's no medical problems whatsoever. And, it's a shock to get home, and nobody should be, like, enjoying that sort of joy of getting a pet and a new member of the family and immediately be dealing with all those medical bills. That's insane, right?
Right,
They don't know.
And we were lucky enough to meet with John Goodwin, who spoke to us about the red flags that you have to look at. Like you were saying, if you don't see the mom, if you don't know where the parents are here, you know that there's something else behind that window.
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to spread the awareness, the education, but also enforce that as well. So
Absolutely.
that's great.
Absolutely.
What other campaigns are you thinking about in the future, in year 2020?
We're also doing a big focus on cosmetic testing on animals. And this is something we're actually taking globally because the use of cosmetics, pesticides in animals' eyes, on skin that has been, where the fur has been shaved, it's so unnecessary. There are so many products out there that we know are safe. And when they need to test new products, there are more efficient ways, non-animal models, that actually correlate to what humans would experience.
Totally.
It's entirely unnecessary, and it actually, in many ways, doesn't give us a clear picture if that product would hurt or injure a human. And so that's one where we're going state by state. We're going country by country and getting that banned. The exciting thing about this one, and why we think we have real traction now, is we've got industry backing us. Never
That's
before
very
have we
cool.
had the likes of Avon, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, all these companies. They understand this, experimenting on animals, it's a loser. It's a loser not only because it's not a good model, but it's inhumane, and they want goodwill with their customers. And customers care about this now.
Yeah.
They want to know if their products have been tested on animals.
Yeah.
And they're not buying it if it is.
Totally, and it's like one of those issues. It's like there's some animal issues where you can sort of, it's like see why someone would like say that this is quote necessary, but with things like certain ones that just like drive me crazy. And cosmetics and fur are right up there for me. They just kind of make me crazy.
Yeah,
Like, really, dude? Come on.
Just seems I mean, just
It's
like
so, yeah.
old school.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially when there's so many better alternatives out
Yeah.
there. It's not like we're asking people to go around with, you know, untreated pustules on their face.
Right.
Use a
Right.
great skin cream that wasn't hurting a bunny and giving
Yeah.
the bunny pustules. It's
Yeah.
not that hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously there's makeup out there that doesn't test on animals. I wouldn't have agreed to
Exactly.
this show right now. Just so you know. I mean,
Exactly,
I've
right?
obviously found products that are
Yeah.
not tested on
Exactly,
animal and
yes.
you know can be put on
Yes,
in
I
time
hit
for
an
this.
enormous hit with a cruelty-free cosmetic earlier just today.
There's the
Yeah.
plug. No, I'm just kidding. No, and so, but we have a great awareness campaign too. The hashtag Be Cruelty Free campaign, right?
Absolutely. And people are latching onto it and the companies are supporting it and endorsing. And some of these companies are not only supporting legislation, we just introduced legislation in Congress to go after this very thing, ban cosmetic testing on animals. These companies are putting money into alternatives.
That is
so, and
fantastic,
that's the other piece of it that we need. Consumers have to demand the products that are not tested on animals, and we need companies like they're doing stepping up and putting money towards searches for alternatives.
Well, and we need to make it not an option for them because sooner or later, it's like if you get enough consumer demand, then the ones
Exactly.
that don't do it are going to go out of business. So it's great.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. And just following on something you said, one of the other things that sort of irk you as entirely unnecessary, fur. That's another big campaign of ours. And that's one Humane Society of the United States has been working on, for years, but we're getting to a tipping point now. I mean, top designer after top designer are just, they don't want
Yep, they're
anything to
like,
do with fur.
yuck.
They're like, that was your great grandmother's closet.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
they want to have fresh ideas. They want to work with materials that are exciting and new. And so,
environmentally friendly. There's so much awful stuff that goes into the environment through the production of fur that I just, even if you're a person who is not moved by animal suffering, if you care remotely about your environment, there's some horrible stuff that goes into fur that is just sort of like, yuck.
Absolutely. And Stella McCartney, longtime incredible designer who's never used fur and really been on the cutting edge of this. She's looking at products that are made from like corn and other things that
That's
are
awesome.
that you can put in your compost when you're done wearing your
Yeah.
coat. Really thoughtful, smart things, and sort of marrying the environmental concerns that are that exist. And so it's just really exciting. And now, not only have we got the top designers, we've got some of the biggest department stores with
That's
Macy's
awesome.
and Bloomingdale's announcing going fur-free at the end of this year.
Wow.
So exciting. I mean, I remember walking into Bloomingdale's and seeing those fur salons. I mean, you see everybody going in there, you see coming out, and I kept thinking, why?
Yeah.
And those are going to close.
Yep.
That's just amazing.
And now, people are going in there with bags over their heads as they should be. Yeah.
On the same vein, too, I mean, things you have thought 10 years ago. I mean, with the Oscars that just came up and all these award ceremonies and Joaquin Phoenix's speech, this plant-based and kind of food and nutrition, department and environment and movement that we've seen. Could you have imagined even 5-10 years ago something like that happening? Plant-based meals at the award ceremonies and everything like that. It's pretty incredible.
It's incredible and so great to see. I mean, it was really great when Golden Globes stepped out and then the Oscars. So now, I mean, if any of you guys from the Academy or all that are listening, I will now come. I mean,
Awesome.
Hear that?
before I was thinking,
And you'll be
don't
wearing
know.
cruelty-free makeup when you
Exactly.
come.
And if Stella
That's
McCartney
great.
wants to
Fantastic.
give me, an
something
outfit,
to wear.
We'll call Stella.
I'll
We'll talk to
consider it.
Stella.
I'll
Okay.
Yep.
consider
And
it.
if Joaquin wants to accompany
Oh,
you,
you know
all the
what?
better, right? I mean, you'll make the sacrifice. 'cause you're a
I'll
giver.
think about
Yeah.
it. And then
She is a
seriously,
giver.
this is an exciting time.
It is.
I
It's
mean,
great.
it really is. When you can make that kind of statement at such a public-facing event, it's mainstream.
It was,
it
yeah.
really is. And for people to receive it in such a great way, it's only going to continue to build on
I
it.
agree. I really felt like a lot of people who you might have been. I mean, I think there's always a little bit of sort of tongue-in-cheek, the actors are telling us how we should live sort of thing that goes on with the Oscars when actors get political. But I really saw a lot of nice response to Joaquin Phoenix's speech. I mean, it was clearly so sincere that I found it really gratifying because you don't see people, like a lot of the times those those things just come across as just like, oh dear. But he was just
right.
and the very next day he was at a farm animal vigil. So
Yeah.
clearly a guy who really talks the talk and walks the walk.
I think he was trying in the industries just trying to get people to connect the dots a little bit between, the food that they're eating and the industry kind of thing. So
Yeah, and what I really liked many things in his speech I really appreciated. But one of the things I really resonated with me, he made it part of the social justice movement
Yes,
and
exactly.
really thought about it holistically. And then he united the actors in a way saying, we use our voice and we speak out on different issues, and we're linked together by these social injustices that we need to talk about. And so I thought that was a great framing of the issue.
Yeah.
And so I think it landed really well.
yeah,
I saw something this weekend about these two young entrepreneurs, I think from Mexico, who are making leather out of cactus. Which I was just like,
Ouch!
I hope that, I know that was my first reaction. I was like, I hope they've taken the spines off. But yeah, they're like basically smashing it. Like it's like agave or some sort of cactus that they're mashing into like a pleather it looks really cool.
strong fiber from the cactus. Yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, invented.
And people will back off if you were
I
wearing
know exactly.
a cactus
I was kind of
jacket.
hoping it would have it on the outside. That
I'm kind of like excited thinking about
gonna wear it on
leaving those
Metro.
spines on.
That's what you'll wear to the Oscars. Okay,
Exactly,
got it.
yeah.
We're good.
Exactly.
Fine.
Exactly.
What else have we? The trophy hunting movement.
So again, along the lines of like, are you kidding me? Do you need to do this?
Yeah.
Trophy hunting, I think, is one of the most egregious examples of unnecessarily cruel, and no one needs it. I mean, these animals are killed for nothing other than trophies.
Yeah.
Bragging rights. This is to hang in your den. This is to show the animals that you've killed, their heads, their horns, their hides, anything you can imagine. And this is it's so over the top. It's hard to believe that people still do this. I mean, the good news is that poll after poll shows that the American people do not support this. The majority of American people do not support trophy hunting. We're not talking about subsistence hunting. We are talking about something that is purely for bragging rights.
Yep.
And so when you're bragging, you want to kill the biggest, the best, the strongest animal, the biggest tusks, the darkest manes. What you're doing.
The rarest in some cases.
The
like
rarest.
Trump Jr. recently going and killing that amazing, beautiful sheep that should still be wandering around in Mongolia and is now not. That's very unfortunate.
It's really unfortunate. And so you don't want to take these animals out of the wild, and you don't want to take them out of the gene pool. And we're working on this globally because a lot U.S. hunters, I don't know if people realize, the biggest hunters in Africa and other places are U.S. hunters.
Yep.
And so, and it's not a lot. It's really a small percentage of the super wealthy who have the time and money to go kill rare animals around the world.
Right, and studies have shown that this whole idea that trophy hunting is somehow supporting conservation, time and time again, the studies have shown that's not really true.
It doesn't support conservation. And listen, if these hunters wanted to support conservation, they could donate to organizations directly.
Exactly.
They don't need to kill that animal to get that trickle down. That doesn't happen. And I will say that if you talk about bringing funds into a country, into many countries in Africa that I visited working with HSI, where they do need funds. They do need funds to take care of wildlife. They can do that through ecotourism. You can watch, take photographs, bring your family to watch an elephant 1,000, 10,000 times. You can only kill that animal once, and you deprive everybody else from seeing that animal, and also obviously that elephant or other animal from being in their family communities. So it's really one that's time should pass. It's not where we should be in the 21st century. And we're making great progress. It's where we've seen the numbers come down. The more we can talk about this, the more we can get people to stand against it, the more we can get our own administration to focus on it in a way they have not before, the better we'll do.
And it's a great distinction that you make too. I'm glad that you said that in the difference between subsistence versus trophy. I mean, trophy is just for the bragging rights versus subsistence. So
I always used to think of there was, I'm sure you guys remember the cartoon The Far Side, one of my favorite Gary Larson cartoons ever. He, most of his cartoons were like a single panel, but one of the best ones was they show in the first panel this very sweet looking bear drinking out of a pond, and you see a next panel shows the hunter shooting him, and then the third panel shows that the hunter has posed the bear in this terrifying, like, rawr sort of way, you know, that is kind of like, oh, so you've made this trophy into something that makes you look like you were really killing something that was threatening to you or anything like, and it's, to me, there's so much about the psychology that goes into trophy hunting that was captured in that cartoon. That guy was an amazing...
He actually, you know, applied for a job here, like...
Are you serious?
What?
Decades ago, and apparently we said, no, not so much. So anyway,
that is going to make me upset
so
all day.
if you're listening to this podcast or watching it, your job is here. Whatever you applied for.
Gary Larson, we're sorry.
And yes, very sorry. Please come back.
We know someone named a cockroach after you in your other work, but really, you could come back here. We'd be happy to have you.
Yeah, so please do.
Yeah.
And one other thing I did want to say about just following what you said about posing the animal, and a lot of animals that are killed are actually hand raised and bottle fed, and they are captive. And in the early days, a lot in South Africa, a lot of lions, trophy hunting of captive bred animals, where when they're cubs, they pose with people for pictures, for selfies. So they're around humans all the time. Then when they get a little bit older, they go on walks with people to get your camera out, and then when they get older and they're big, you know, their mane fills in, then they're shot on enclosed areas. And they're basically, a lot of hunters are sort of driven up to the space where they are, and then they shoot them, they get back in, they then haul the animal in to clean them up and give you your trophy.
So it's literally like the mammal version of shooting fish in a barrel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
much.
And very friendly fish at that. I mean, fish in a barrel at least will swim to the bottom of the barrel, whereas these lions that
They're
would be,
used to you.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
usually
used to
the
you.
Jeeps that they bring the people out in are the ones where they bring the food. So they come to recognize these vehicles. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I hope I'm not ruining your day here. Sorry about that.
No.
Back to Gary
No,
Larson.
Gary.
We could get a job.
Now that,
Yeah.
jeez.
Luckily at HSUS, we're surrounded by people who are incredibly nice and awesome and caring. And so this stuff lands with you and you can just sort of let it go because you're surrounded with people doing something about it.
Well, on that note, I mean, we have had some pretty incredible victories. We've already spoken about it and accomplishments. So it's pretty amazing to see the work that we've done, both legislative and then even with the most recent Florida rescue. I mean, incredible work that we've been accomplishing even in the last few months. So
Absolutely. And I guess it's, you know, people have often asked, not just me, but obviously our colleagues here, like, how can you do this work? It's so hard. And I always say, how can you not do it? I mean, because then what you see would be devastating. But by the fact that we're actually changing it, we're having an impact and we're stopping the cruelties, makes this work incredible. And sure, we have setbacks on certain issues. Sometimes you have to fight just to keep the victory that you had.
Yeah.
But
It would be nothing but setbacks if we weren't here.
there wouldn't even be a setback. It would just be the
would just
status
be
quo. And so
slide and slide
we've
and slide.
changed that, you know, and not just Humane Society of the United States and Humane Society International, but a lot of great organizations in this country and around the world. And the work is so important. And, you know, and we're just going to continue to do what we do best. And that's just great victories for animals.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've talked about this on the show several times, but like not everybody cannot do everything, but everybody can do something, and that's really what this should be about. And if you're listening to the show, then you can do something too.
Yeah. Kitty, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us. Another check-in on, again, the accomplishments, some of the hardships, the setbacks, and also the hopes that we have for this coming year. I have a feeling that we will be checking in throughout to see the new updates. We have many of them, and so we're just so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity to talk about the work, the animals, and I also had fun, which is a good thing.
Hey.
So that means
And you
I'm
get to
coming
show up
back.
with brand blue, which is
That's
always
right.
nice.
Right.
We'll have you back as long as you show up branded.
Exactly.
Working on it.
Right.
So thank you.
Keep
Thank you.
it. Okay, wonderful. That's all we have for today's show. Be sure to follow HSUS and HSI on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the website humanesociety.org for the latest info. You can also message podcast@humanesociety.org and send us your reactions, questions you have, and topics that you want to hear for our next episode. See you next time on Humane Voices.